Today, we're unpacking a really profound mystery about human behavior. What we actually say we want out of life? Well, we're going to connect some seemingly unrelated dots today, from the hidden reasons you might ghost your friends, to the terrifying biology of waking up paralyzed in the middle of the night, and even to the psychological traps that keep the hardest working people totally broke. It's all connected by one single glitch in our internal programming. Let's dive right into this incredibly relatable paradox. So, have you ever met someone, or hey, maybe this is you, who says they feel super lonely, but then they constantly dodge texts, cancel plans, or just isolate themselves for days on end? It's a baffling contradiction, right? You deeply crave connection, you want to be understood, but your external behavior is literally just pushing everyone away. Why on earth does our mind do this to us? It's a crazy contradiction. On one hand, we've got what psychologists call early obsession. Some emotionally deprived minds attach incredibly fast to a new relationship or a new opportunity. I mean, within days, they are fully 100% invested. But then, on the exact opposite side, we see this intense behavior of withdrawing and avoiding texts. It creates this really confusing pattern where you appear completely antisocial on the outside, but internally, you're practically starving for emotional closeness. So what's actually happening up there in your head during that early obsession phase? Well, the brain is highly reward-driven. When you're craving certainty and emotional security, your fantasy thinking actually becomes way stronger than your actual observation. Your brain literally starts to mistake the mere potential of a relationship for reality. It confuses your imagination and your emotional cravings with an actual secure connection. You get your hopes up incredibly fast simply because your brain is desperately trying to fast forward to the secure, safe part. But then, the avoidance kicks in. For people stuck in this loop, social interaction doesn't feel energizing. It feels like running a mental marathon. They'll replay conversations for hours afterward, agonizing over things like, did I sound awkward? Or do they secretly hate me? This level of intense mental analysis associates human connection with absolute emotional exhaustion. And crucially, they fear rejection far, far more than they fear loneliness. So withdrawing just becomes a form of self-protection. The brain basically decides it's safer to be lonely than to risk the emotional exhaustion of being misunderstood. Section 1. The biology of paralysis. Waking up completely frozen. If you've ever experienced sleep paralysis and woken up entirely unable to move, you know exactly how terrifying it is. Biologically, what happens is the brain wakes up before the body does. Your mind is completely conscious, but your muscles are still locked down in REM sleep. What the data shows is that high levels of stress, anxiety, and irregular sleep significantly increase the chances of this happening. Your brain is essentially just too stressed out to stay asleep, but your body is too exhausted to actually wake up. And this is the literal biological cost of a hyper-aware mind. Because the brain is awake, but the body is frozen in this vulnerable state, the mind's panic often creates these terrifying hallucinations, like seeing dark shadow figures standing in the corner of the room. It's a perfect biological metaphor for what we were just talking about with relationships. The mind is trapped in a hyper-aware, hyper-vigilant state, imagining threats that aren't actually there, while you are completely unable to move forward. All right, Section 2, Survival Mode and Our Financial Struggles. Now, let's pivot and apply this exact same hypervigilant, paralyzed state to our careers and our wallets. We're looking at the psychology of people who work incredibly hard for years, but somehow still stay poor. We're constantly taught that effort alone guarantees success, right? But the hidden psychological truth is that hard work does not equal wealth if your mind is trapped in a state of constant anxiety. Think about these financial survival traps for a second. When you stay in survival mode for way too long, you just get mentally fried. Just like the social overthinker who's too drained to even send a text message, the overworked individual is too mentally exhausted to think bigger. They start to fear financial risk way more than they fear financial stagnation. They tie their entire self-worth strictly to grinding day in and day out, truly believing effort alone is the answer, which actually blinds them to smarter, more leveraged opportunities. They are completely paralyzed. Because here's the wild part. There's exactly one invisible thread tying all this together. Ghosting your friends because you're emotionally exhausted, hallucinating shadow demons while frozen in bed, and working yourself to the bone while staying completely broke. They're all driven by the exact same underlying mechanism. Section 3. The brain's AI. A very glitchy system. To really grasp this single thread, we actually need to look at cutting-edge artificial intelligence. Psychology tells us that the human brain gets more powerful through experience by connecting patterns. Well, there's a new AI system called Autonomy, developed under founder Kaushal Sheth, that does exactly this. It doesn't just process raw information, it builds context. It learns from outcomes. It takes totally separate, random signals and connects them into one overarching pattern to understand the whole situation before it reacts. It interprets what data actually means.
When you put them side by side, both the human brain and advanced AI, like Autonomy, take in data, learn from experience, and predict what's going to happen next. But here's the glitch. While more complexity makes the AI sharper and way more accurate, a traumatized human brain uses its predictive algorithm strictly defensively. It takes past pain, maybe a betrayal or a massive financial failure, and uses it to predict future disaster. Your brain's internal AI literally starts hallucinating threats that simply aren't there, just to protect you from ever getting hurt again.
Because your brain learns from emotional pain, your nervous system literally starts treating emotional closeness or a big financial opportunity as highly dangerous. Even when you consciously want a great relationship or you consciously want to build wealth, your subconscious AI expects pain. So it interprets a perfectly normal, neutral text message from a friend as an impending rejection. It interprets a small, calculated financial risk as guaranteed ruin. Your internal algorithm is totally misinterpreting the data. Section 4. Escaping paralysis and breaking the cycle. So this brings us to the ultimate synthesis of everything we've been talking about today. Let's call it social sleep paralysis. Whether you're withdrawing from the people you love, seeing shadow figures in the middle of the night, or just grinding away at a dead-end job while terrified to take a leap forward, your brain is doing the exact same thing. It's stuck in a hyper-aware, self-protecting freeze state. Your glitchy, predictive algorithm is forecasting exhaustion and pain, causing your body to physically and emotionally freeze, even though you deeply, deeply crave growth. And that brings us to the core takeaway for this explainer. The absolute first step to breaking out of this trap is just recognizing that it's there. You have to realize that your avoidance isn't laziness, and it certainly isn't a personality flaw. It is a survival mechanism that has completely outlived its usefulness. Once you understand that your brain is really just a glitchy AI trying to protect you based on outdated data, you can stop taking those hallucinated threats so seriously. You can finally begin to move again. So, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. Look at your own life, your own delayed text messages, your own hesitations in your career. What invisible, totally non-existent threats is your brain's survival algorithm hallucinating right now? Thank you so much for watching this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep questioning the hidden psychology behind your daily habits. Catch you next time.